Hello and welcome back. So apologies for kind of the pinkiness of my face and my décolletage, but I went out in the sun yesterday for longer than I realised I was going to be out, and I also managed to forget to put sunscreen on. So please folks, remember to put sunscreen on. It doesn't look as bad in the camera, but you can see the definite squashies line there on me. So yes, that is very warm, and I very much regret forgetting to put my sunscreen on, especially on my scalp, because that's quite tender this morning. But anyway, what we're here for is everything that I made in July. I made a few things, not massive amounts of things, but enough that I've been kept busy for the month. So the first thing that I'd finished was this blue and green cardigan. I think I finished just into the month of July, and I think I did speak about it on the everything I made in June. This one was a granny octagon rather than a granny hexagon, and it's worked out really well. It's very comfy. It's one of my light summer cardigans that I've been making lots of recently. I've stopped making them now because I have enough. But I really like this yarn, and when I make things in the future, like wearables, especially cardigans, this definitely will be something that I go to, because I don't want to use the hobby yarn anymore. But this is a Yarnsmiths one. You'll notice that I use a lot of Yarnsmiths yarn, and that's because I mostly get my yarn from the Wool Warehouse in the UK, which has the Yarnsmiths yarn in it. The next thing that I made is a pants bag. So the general concept, if you've not come across these before, is the holders that you can get for putting plastic bags in the kitchen. So you've got like a dispenser, you put things in the top and you pull them out of the bottom. Absolutely fantastic idea. I've stolen that idea and I now use it for the things that I wear every day. So underpants, tights, socks, that sort of thing, because I have all of the same of those things. I don't have different like sizes or shapes of things. Like all my socks are trainer socks and black. All my tights, except for a couple of colourful ones, are just normal black tights. All my pants, black. So I just dispense them each morning, and it's easier than having a drawer full, because I also know that each thing is getting an even amount of wear, rather than the first 3 or 4 always getting washed, worn and put back from the front of the drawer. This way all the clean ones go in the top, and then I take them out the bottom, so I know that they get an even distribution. I might swap things around. I might put socks in this one instead, because it is a little bit narrower than I'd actually intended on making, which sounds silly because I was making it and I was looking at it the entire time I was making it. But sometimes while I'm making something, I don't always realise the scale of it. Then I made some coasters. Now I always like having my drinks on a coaster, because I hate when there's condensation and it makes rings on the furniture. But I also, while I enjoy the look of a solid coaster or a laminated one, whatever they're called, I find it quite annoying when if you've got like a cold drink and the condensation has formed a ring around the bottom, you pick it up, it takes the coaster with it. So I like having material ones, because they can soak up the water, or the condensation, what have you. And then if they get a bit messy, like if you've spilled a bit of pop or tea or something, you can just stick it in the washing machine, like put it in a garment bag so it doesn't get tangled up in anything if it does come loose. Stick it in the washing machine, dry it, and it's good as new. So I made 4 of these. I've got 2 on the little coffee table next to the sofa, and then 1 each for mine and my wife's desks down here in the ground floor, so that we can put our drinks on them. I might make some more. I don't think I have any more of this yarn left, or at least not enough for coasters, but I like using natural fibres for these sort of things, because they don't melt when they get hot, because if you put a hot cup of tea on it, if it's acrylic, it might melt it a little bit, whereas this being wool, it's not going to. And then with that same yarn, I made a pot holder. So just something for, grabbing trays out of the oven. That's the kind of thing I like to make. I did have some that I made ages ago that we used in the old house, but they're still packed away in a box somewhere. I'm not 100% where they are. Then I made a phone strap for my phone. I like having like a bracelet to put on. I did have ones that I made with beads, like glass beads a while ago, but I find that they do fray a bit because of like the movement does then rub against the strings. So I've sort of moved away from using those ones just because of how much I move around and play with them. I do kind of fidget with these things quite a lot, a bit detrimental to the actual thing itself. So I decided to knit one instead. In fact, I was going to crochet it, and I was looking up a tutorial on how to do crochet I-cord. But the problem I have is that when making I-cord, I always kind of pull a bit too hard, and then the stitches either come out of shape or I lose the stitches altogether. So I then decided to do it with knitting, and then as I was making it, I realised, because at that point the only knitting needles that I had were some DPNs, because everything else is packed away. So I was making this with DPNs, and I realised that there's a really easy way to make a good I-cord using a DPN. I'm not going to do any spoilers because I have already recorded a video that will come out next week with that hint in it. So if you want to learn about that, come back in a week's time. But yeah, I knitted that. It's a little bit longer, I think, than I needed to do, but that's better than being a bit shorter, I think. And then I just sewed it onto the lobster claw clip, and I've been using it ever since. It's brilliant. It's quite handy. I might make some more in different colours depending on outfits and things like that, but for the moment, this one is absolutely fantastic. Then I made some little gift bags for my brother's birthday presents. Both of my brothers have birthdays in July, so because of our family being kind of all over the place, we're all at least an hour, or between an hour and 3 hours drive from each other. So we always get together at my parents' house for birthdays. So in July, we'll get together for the boys. We say the boys, they're both in their 30s. One of them is a parent. We get together for the boys' birthday, but I'm not a big fan of using wrapping paper personally, and I have so much yarn and I have time. So I made little bags just for the things. One of my brothers kept the little bag. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do with it, but he's kept it, the one that's got these. This is a couple of little notebooks. My other brother didn't keep it because he had no use for it. He's a very practical minded person. But my dad was like, that's a good size for something I would like. So Dad has that now. Although, to be fair, if Dad wants anything that's knitted or crocheted, he can just ask me. Dad, I'm assuming you're watching this. Please let me know what you'd like for your birthday, please, so I can get making it. Then I made this out of the leftover headliner yarns. I was going to originally just do a big square in this sort of pattern. I called it Log Cabin, but I don't actually know what the name of the pattern is. I must have come across it somewhere at some point, but I genuinely cannot remember where I learnt this or if it's something that I came up with. I feel like I saw something similar and then I made my own version of it, because it's kind of like a 10 stitch blanket, but that's knitting. But this isn't 10 stitches. It's starting off with a square and then adding 5 rows to one side, and then on the opposite side adding another few rows, and then going back to here adding 5 rows, and then over here and adding 5 rows. You basically build up the spiral one side at a time, and it looks continuous and kind of ends up in a big spiral, as I want to do, because I didn't have a pattern or a specific idea for it. I got a little bit bored of doing that because the way that I did it, I still had the yarns attached and then break them off and start again. Contending with 2 large things of yarn can be a bit annoying, so I stopped at this point here on the blue and this point here on the orange, made some squares and attached them, on the other side, and then went all the way around. I quite like it, but I don't know actually what I'm going to do with this. So it's about my wingspan, or it's like wrist to wrist, and then from about here to my knees. So it's a good size for sort of, I suppose, putting over your knees, if you need a little bit of warmth but you don't want a full proper blanket, because it's a nice thin cotton yarn. I was thinking of maybe, like, as I put on the item name, blanket/shawl, it's probably not a good size for a shawl because it is only just about my wingspan, but we'll see. Having said that, if anyone would like it, please give me a shout and send me your address, obviously privately. We don't want to send everyone your address. And you can have it for free. I haven't really got a use for it. I just made it to use up the yarns. And if someone else would like it, then I'd rather it go to someone who has an idea of what they want to do with it. This is another blanket that I made. So this is basically an apology blanket to our neighbours, because we bought a house, this house that I'm in right now. We bought this house last year, and we've been doing a lot of work on it. I say we've been doing a lot of work, other people have been doing the work, but there has been a lot of work going on. Not every single day of the week, but multiple days a week since we bought it pretty much. And as a sort of apology to the neighbours and thank you for putting up with the noise and the hassle, I made this blanket for them. I started out with the idea of doing a kaleidoscope blanket, but I felt it would probably get a little bit unwieldy the bigger I got, so I decided instead to make squares and attach them together. So I made 2 panels of 2x3 and attached them together, and yeah, I quite like it. I'm definitely going to use this method of making like granny square blankets in the future. It is a bit annoying and faffy for all the ends that need to be weaved in, but I think the final result is quite nice. I don't know if I would start with a smaller square in the middle so you can get kind of more squares and diamonds before it gets to the size of then attaching them all together, but it's definitely something to play with in the future if I'm making more blankets. I say if I'm making more blankets, I think we all know I'm going to, but you know what I mean. So the desk that I'm sat at, obviously you can't see it from the filming view, but you can see some of it in the pictures. It was a desk that belonged to my grandfather, and because it's got quite a lot of sentimental value, I didn't want to stick anything to it or drill into it or anything. So I wanted a way to manage all the cables from like the screens and the various other bits. You can see in the picture there's quite a few cables in there, and to hold the power strip, because the length of some of the wires means that the power strip can't sit on the floor. It's just not long enough, and I don't want it dangling free, because the area behind my desk is where you walk through the room to go into the kitchen. And obviously I want to avoid people tripping and falling over, or, you know, fire hazards and things like that. So I decided I would make something to house all the cables in. So I'd been thinking back and forth about what I could do. I could crochet something out of a cotton yarn, but the problem with that is that it would be quite a loose weave, which would mean that things could come out through the holes, and I wanted something that would keep things contained. And then I remembered that I'd bought this lovely material when we went to visit the Quarry Bank Mill near Manchester, because they still weave cloth and they sell it in their gift shop. So I bought a few different ones, and they're all 100% cotton, so they are good for holding things that are going to get a bit warm because they're not going to melt, and they're a little bit flame retardant because of the way that they smoulder rather than burn, and it also looks nice. So I got the piece of material that I had, I cut it in half. I didn't need the whole thing, so I still have some of this material left to do something else with. The selvage edge of the material, because it's weaved in an old-fashioned way, there isn't like a frayed edge on the edge of it, but basically that meant that I didn't need to do any sewing on that edge. But the 2 edges where the cuts had happened, I folded it over a couple of times and I started hand sewing it, and then I realised that this sewing machine that's behind me probably needs I need to see if it works, because this was one that belonged to my grandmother, and I don't think it's been used since before she passed away, or at least not used properly. Like, we've turned the handle to see if it moves, and it does. So I thought I'll have a go with that, and worked absolutely fantastically. So it was a nice quick thing to make, because it was literally just 2 lines of sewing, one at the top or one at each end of the piece of material. When I first made it, this part here was just a hole I pushed through to put the hardware in, but I knew that that wasn't going to be a long-term solution, because as you can see here, it's literally just a hole in the material and not too far from the edge, so not exactly the most long-term of solutions. I got a little riveting set and put little holes at the top, and then also in the middle you can see here I've tied it through with a piece of material, just to sort of keep that flap closed, but it's easily openable. And I don't have a picture of it on this screen, but I think I do have one on my phone. They are attached to clamps that are on the table, and I've put felt pads on either side of the clampy bits so that it doesn't damage the wood. And I think it's a very good solution. I came up with it all by myself. Obviously, I have taken inspiration from other things that do exist, like my wife's computer desk has a sling built in to put these things in. But with my desk being older than even I am, not necessarily built to house that kind of stuff. But I'm very happy with how it's come out. So the next thing, Mum, if you don't want to see what your next birthday / Christmas present will look like, please look away now. I'm giving you fair warning. I'm going to click over to it next. So this is what I've made for my mum. She asked me for a couple of cardigans, one in pink and one in black. This is the pink one, and I'm still currently making the black one. I think I should be able to finish it by the end of this weekend. Not that it is time sensitive, because these are either going to be birthday or Christmas presents for my mum, and Christmas is a few months away and her birthday is nearer Easter. So I like to get things made nice and early, especially as Mum had already thought about it and asked me for it. So she does know what she's getting, but she hasn't seen it yet. That's also why I haven't posted a picture of it, in case Mum doesn't want to see it until she actually receives it as a present. It's a granny hexagon, so I made 2 halves, added them together, added length to the arms and length to the body, and it's a nice and simple method of making cardigans. This and the granny octagon are the 2 main ways that I make cardigans, because they work and they're very easy to make to size as you go. Like, you don't have to work out in advance how many rows you're going to do of things. The way that I did this was I have the measurements of what Mum, or how Mum wants it to fit. Like, I've measured her, and then also existing clothes she has that fit her well and that she's happy with the fit of. And because you're kind of starting from the armpits and working out, you can measure as you go to see how big you've got, and then just what I do is then write it down so that when I come to make the other half, I know it will fit right. I may release a pattern for this one day. The trouble is that my notes are sort of written in a way that I understand but might not be too obvious to another person. Although saying that, it might be something to make a video about. I don't make that many tutorials, but I feel like this is something that would lend better to a tutorial video rather than a written pattern, probably because the way that I would explain it verbally and showing things would be a bit more helpful than writing it down, because I have the tendency to waffle. So that's it for July. The first thing in August's makes video will probably be the second cardigan for Mum. I don't have any sort of future craft plans besides finishing off the things that I've got started already. I do want to have a go at making that squashed frog coaster. One of my colleagues has asked me to have a go at that, so I'll see if I can find a pattern for it and do that. If you're not sure what I mean, I'll try and find a video to slide in here so you can see what I mean by a squashed frog coaster. Editing Carolyn here. It's a lizard, not a frog. It's cute and it's fun, but I don't know if I have all the right colours to make it, so I will have to see what I have, because I'm trying this month to not buy any frivolous items. So for me, that would be buying yarn, because I have a lot left over from making the blankets and the cardigans for Mum. And I have much more yarn in my stash somewhere up in the craft room, which is still going to be organised. Once that's sorted, I will give everyone a tour of it, but it might be a few months yet before I'm actually up and running with the room. And I do find that if I have a craft idea, I will just go out and buy the craft supplies without thinking, is this actually something that I do want to make, or is it just an idea that I've seen? Because like recently I saw I believe it was a TikTok. It was either TikTok or a reel or something, where someone had made a fake succulent out of teardrop faceted glass beads, and I really like how that looks. And I have a skull planter thing up again. Shove a picture in here for you, which at the moment has like fake ivy leaves in it, because I didn't know if the plastic that it was 3D printed out of would damage a real plant if I put it in there. But I think I would like to change the plant that's in it, because that was just some cheap fake artificial plant that I got off Amazon. And I would quite like to make something out of crystals, but that is the kind of thing that I will buy all the supplies for, get really into it, and then never do that craft again. So I'm now making little lists of things that I might like to buy or craft ideas that I've had, and then in September, if I still feel like I want to do it, then I will allow myself to spend that money and buy those supplies. partially as well, it's because I don't have my craft room set up. I don't have anywhere practical to store the bits. Like at the moment, I've got a few boxes and things in the living room with those things in it that would normally be in my craft room, but I don't want to keep adding more stuff to that pile because then it's just more stuff to cart upstairs. So I'm trying to be more practical with my spending this month, just to see, do the impulse things actually turn into anything useful at the end? Because I can assume probably not. Who knows, I may still make the crystal succulent. I don't know. I probably will, but I will see how I feel in a month's time rather than going out and buying it now. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a very vocal pigeon outside my window. If you like plants and things, I know I don't talk about them very much on my YouTube videos, but I do post about them on Instagram. So if you want to see little updates on the seedlings that I'm willing into existence for a little herb garden, you can follow me on Instagram. If you would like to find me there or find me anywhere else online, there is a link to my link tree in the doobly-doo, and I will see you next time.